Okay. I'm going to be talking about the coronavirus and the apocalypse. And well, there's a way of looking at things that can be positive or negative. Okay, in this reality. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about. I'm just going to be all over the place with this video, so you just have to bear with me. But what I really want to talk about is what the meaning of the apocalypse is and the four horsemen. Okay, so I'll probably call the video the four horsemen or something. What is the apocalypse? If you spoke to most people, they would say the apocalypse is the end of the world, it's the destruction of the world, blah 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 blah. If you go and look at the etymology of apocalypse, okay, if you look at what the goddess Calypso was, if you go look at all these things, you can figure out. In fact, you can just go look at the dictionary and you can figure this out. But you can figure out what the word apocalypse really means, and it means moving away from concealment. Okay, it means awakening. It means the lifting of the veil. Okay, this is what apocalypse means. Okay, of course, if you ask most people, they would have a negative reaction to that word. Okay, move on, Dan. The four horsemen of the apocalypse. What am I talking about? Well, if you read the Bible, which I think most people have a fair knowledge of it, and I mean, it is what it is, right? You've either heard the story or you haven't. If you haven't heard the story, maybe go and do a bit of background research on what I'm talking about. But most of the people that I'm going to be talking to here today already know the story. Okay, so the four horsemen. Let's break it down, and I'm going to break it down a little bit differently from what other people are talking about. And I think most people are getting it, but I just wanted to add some bits and bobs to it. We'll start off with the white horse, and everybody will be arguing about what the white horse is and what it represents. Well, I'm just going to give you my opinion on this, okay? The white horse is Christ, okay? And the caveat is that if you really know what the system is, you're going to be inkling towards lumping the Antichrist in with Christ, but that's a topic for a different video, and if you want to hear about that, put a comment in the video and maybe I'll expand on it, but I ain't got time to do that right now. So let's just call the white horse Christ, okay? And what is Christ? Christ is nature, okay? The cross is nature, okay? If you look at the Christian cross, okay, you draw your stick figure of a man, which is that cross, okay? That is the metaphor for the cross of nature, which is, of course, the equinoxes and the seasons and the solstices and everything else to do with nature, okay? All right, so I'm going to call the white horse Christ, okay? He's always been here, okay? The white horse has always been here, okay? The crown is what he's wearing at the minute. The crown of thorns, the corona, is what Christ is wearing at the minute. They say he travels with a bow as well. I thought that was interesting. I thought, what's the reference there with the bow? And I just thought, rainbow. It's obvious, isn't it? It's another thing that comes from the light. Okay, if you think about the corona, the halo that's formed when what we call the moon goes a black disc goes in front of the sun and causes the total eclipse, the solar eclipse. You end up with a corona, which is in a sense a sort of an illusion of the light, okay? And the same way as a rainbow is created. It's an illusion and it's actually a circle as well. It's actually a halo as well, and that's created from light as well. So it's an interesting thing that we get back to the sun, the SUN and the SON, and That's what the white horse is. Okay. What we're seeing at the minute is the black horse. This is another color of one of the horsemen of the apocalypse, the black horse, and on the black horse rides the merchant. Okay. This is the veil that's been placed over the light, over the sun. Okay, that's the veil. That veil is the fictional system. It's fiction. It's an idea. The darkness is an idea. Okay, that's what's been placed over the sun, and that's what we have right now. We have the legal system controlling everything. Okay, I'm going to be looking down at my notes. So that's what we have. I think it's Kali, isn't it, that eats the sun? But that's what we've got right now. Okay, and so moving forward from there, let's talk about the red horse. Okay. Oh, and there's lots of little fake bits and bobs that we can see with like the way the system right now, the way the fake system obscures everything. It likes to take what we would call the truth and twist it. Okay, so you'll see things like I'm trying to think of something off the top of my head. The White House. Now, if that wasn't a reference to the white horse, you know, but it's almost. But you see what it is the White House is the root of where a lot of this deception is coming from. So they like to take all these metaphors and incorporate them into their own agenda, if you like. The negative side of the force, the antichrist side, is taking the general metaphors of the whole system and twisting them, turning them upside down, turning them to the negative. Okay, and that's what we're seeing with a lot of this stuff. Okay, so anyway, I covered the black horse. That's the veil. That's what's covering the light, and from that we get the corona. Okay, that is part of Christ. Okay, and that's what they placed on Christ at the crucifixion. Okay, was the crown of thorns. Okay, so when they crucified Christ, when they obscured him, when the commercial entities, or whatever you want to call them, the evil side of the force, obscured nature, okay, they represented this with that's represented with the crown of thorns, which is what you see in an eclipse. You know, in a solar eclipse is the halo, or the blah 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 blah, is the corona. All right, let's talk about the red horse. Okay, the biggest thing that jumps out to me when you say red horse is the Matrix, the red pill. Okay, the blood. Okay, if you shine a light in, and I'll get to this in another. I'll get this later when we talk about the green horse, or the pale green horse. But if you shine a light in a man's eye, you get red eye. Okay, and when I get onto the pale green horse later, we'll look at something like an animal of the night. You'll see usually a green eye. Just an interesting little side note there, but I'll get back to that later. But the red, so the red pill, the awakening, okay, the blood, the life, being alive, being actually alive, and not in the dead fictional realm of the black horse. Okay, so this red pill is the rebirth, is the fire. Okay, it's the fire that's going to consume the dark. What else can I say about it? Like the rebirth, like the phoenix rising from the flames. Okay, pretty good stuff, Dan. Loving it. the blood returning to the man, okay, the life returning to the man, okay. It's the fictional man, the fictional person, sorry, versus the real man, okay. And we see the system's attempt to use the metaphor is attaching it to something like China, okay, and you see the little red triangles of the coronavirus in their little image, and they try to attach it to something that's associated with red, and that would be China, or danger, okay. But if you look at the positive side of what's occurring here, we're talking about rebirth. This is the truth behind it, okay. I also thought it was interesting. I think right at the start of all this, we had a blood moon, which is another interesting, I don't know, another interesting thing that happened at the same time. You know, all these kind of analogies and metaphors. Okay, so that leaves us with the final, blah blah blah, the final horse, which is the green horse. Okay, and of course, let's start with the system. Okay, the system right now, the green horse, of course, is the illusion of money. The Federal Reserve note, that green, okay, the envy, the green-eyed monster of envy. Okay, I'll talk about where that all comes from in a minute. But they've sort of, again, taken the story, and they're using it to sort of fit their own spell, if you like, of what they're doing at the minute. It's the kryptonite of man, you know, the envy, wanting something of somebody else's, okay, and this is where all the problems come, okay, from taking stuff from other people, okay. It's that envy, the jealousy and the greed that comes from wanting something that somebody else is maybe entitled to, or something that belongs to somebody else, okay. So we've got all kinds of stuff in nature that we can pull the green pale horse from. In fact, I just did a video on oh my gosh, on seeds everywhere, on the dandelion, and go and check that video out. If you're watching this one, I haven't seen that one, go and check it out. But something that's interesting about the metamorphosis, from going from the sun to the corona, okay, and you can just about still make out the darkness in there, which is about gone now. But if I remove the rest of these, if I remove the rest of the veil, and the corona, of course, disappears as you do that, you're left with the light again, okay. Now, if you look at this, I didn't mention this in the other video, but if you look at it, if you freshly pick those off, it's a pale green. This will turn white. If you go and look at one that's lost the seed head, this will eventually turn a nice white color, whiter than it is now. It doesn't look pale green, but I assure you, if you go and pick one of these fresh, that will be a pale green color. It's just another seeds everywhere. That's just another seeds all over the floor as well. I'm gonna have to do some tidying up. It's just another nice little, just another little detail that's there, you know. So we can go through all the different things to do with green, okay. And I asked because I was looking for ideas this morning, I said to my daughter, I said, any ideas about the color green? And she said, go. Okay, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. What do I associate with the word go? And I thought not straight away, but I thought about it for a minute, and I thought, ego. Ego. This may be the thing that is not balanced at the minute. The ego is not balanced, okay. The ego is your drive, okay, to do things. This is why I look at the ego. And people that tend to have an out of control ego, tend to have that kind of they kind of want to control the situation all the time. They kind of want to impart their view on everything, and it's the kind of everybody wants to rule the world syndrome. Yes. Check this shit out. Oh god, NASA, load of bullshit. Um, but the ego is the the driving force. But when it's not balanced, okay, then we've got a problem. Okay, so I mean it's a bit of a jump to get from the color green to the ego, but I don't know. And if you actually, I think actually ego in, just to be completely random now, ego in if you pronounce it correctly is ego, I think, which brings us back to the egg again, which I also mentioned in that other the other video that I just did on the dandelion. So you've got the broken egg at the minute, the Humpty Dumpty sat on the wall, nobody could put it back together. That broken eggshell is really what we're trying to do. Is we're trying to break out of that shell. The shell is the thing that's containing us. And if you can go and check other videos out on this, and the connection to Ovid and the egg, and rebirth with the egg, and metamorphosis with the egg, and the list goes on. But if we get back to the green, another way of looking at green, if you look straight out the window now, if you think about the pale green horse, what is happening now? Everything's coming alive. I mean, at the core foundation of that is, you say, plants are green, plants are growing at the minute, and that's what they've done. They've sprung back into life. Everything's greened up. Okay, that could be the symbol for returning to nature, just as simple as that. Okay, and then you've got all these other, you can connect all the dots backwards. The actors that play the role, and of course death is associated with this uh, with this idea of the pale green horse. And what I want to talk about with the death is, that's what nature is actually about. It's about life and death. Whereas when you get into the fictional realm, okay, you're talking about entities like, I can't think of one off the top of my head, but let's think of, like, I'm trying to think of something. Let's talk about Ford, okay? That's a company that's been going, or John Deere or something like that. Those are companies that have been running, and you can go back further, like to the Crown Corporation. That's a company, or companies that have been, and all the same company. They're all subsidiaries of the same thing. That's been running, and they live forever. Okay, they never were alive, and they never will die. Okay, that fictional idea doesn't deal with life and death. It just is. A lot of people would say it's dead already, but is it even dead? Was it ever alive to be dead? It just is. It just is there in the background. I don't know. But this idea of the greenness coming back to the earth now, and returning to the earth, what is the planet? It's green. Okay, if you take the yellow that comes from the sun, the sunlight, the sun, which is yellow, and combine that with the blue of the water, you end up with, if you combine those colors, you end up with green. You end up with the life. Okay, if blue is the sky, if you look at the gods, what was the sky? Uranus. That's another whole thing. And then you've got Gaia, or the Earth, or whatever. But this is the fictional. The blue is the fictional. Okay, it's the sky. I don't want to say heaven, but it's the heavens. It's you can't really. It's there, but you can't be in it, if you know what I mean. It's the fictional realm, and with the sunlight forms the green of the plants that grow, that everything feeds from. Okay, so this idea of the green and returning to death, returning to those cycles. Okay, um, but yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say about. I mean, of course, they're touting it as or I would tout it right now, is what the system, the fictional system realm is trying to do, is play out the death of the dollar through these ideas. Okay, casting that spell during um, something that's bigger, if you know what I mean. They're kind of using what's happening in nature to kind of fulfill their agenda. But yeah, this green-eyed monster of envy. Okay, and you can look at this stuff. There's so many different ways of looking at. This is the cloak right now of life that we're talking about. Or what was another thing I was thinking this morning? I was like, I was thinking, what's pale? Because I was just going through what's pale green in nature, and I thought, because I deal with my sheep a lot, and every once in a while you get one that has an abscess. Okay, it's just a fact of life with keeping sheep. You're going to end up with one that gets an abscess sooner or later. And I mean, every once in a while, a man might get an abscess as well. And actually, I'll come on to this in a minute. But the abscess usually starts off. It actually usually starts off as a white spot, and then it gets a red ring round it. Okay, and then it'll darken, and then it'll explode with the green pus that oozes out, and that's the kind of the cycle of things to start afresh. Okay, you can't. I mean, you just can't write this stuff. There's so many things out there that you can look at, and this is where all these ancient myths and gods and all this other stuff come from. It all draws up from nature. Okay. What was I thinking as well? It's like a zit, like a spot that you get on your face. It would you'd get a redness or a white spot, a white speck, and then redness, and then a blackhead, and then out from that would come the ooze and the pus. And anyway, I don't know. I think I've pretty much done this one. I don't think there's anything else I can do, and I'm way over time. I wanted to keep this short, but they've got their set of illusions right now that are going on, like the white horse, the coronavirus, the red horse, the China, where it's come from, the black horse, the veil, the the people that are running the system, and then the green horse, what they're going to take down, which is money, the dollar. But if you look at it on the spiritual side and the positive side, you'll see that it's an awakening. Anyway, I can't say much more than that. That's it. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you on the next one. Right, bye.